Right, here we go. So, welcome back to the podcast, everyone listening. And also, you'll see that I had the lovely Christina with me. Now, I'm going to explain what we're doing here today because it's a little bit of a different episode. Me and Christina are going to have a one-to-one coaching session. Christina's been, what word am I looking for? Very generous enough to share this with you and the world. So, we don't know what's going to happen. We're going to just coach and see what happens. So, Christina, thank you for being open and vulnerable and for allowing others to learn from what will be a potentially valuable episode for them.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Oh, and just as a disclaimer, I don't normally sound like this.
Sexy sex line husky voice.
uh,
How do you feel today? I know I asked you before we recorded, but in general, like how are you feeling physically and how are you feeling emotionally?
well, physically, I'm obviously a bit run down at the moment. I think, things are starting to come out in a physical way as well as emotionally. I was going along quite okay for a while, I thought. But then a couple of weeks ago, I started having a little bit of a panic really about my increasing body size, and I started journaling. I hadn't been journaling for a while, and I had a big think about it. And once I started journaling, I realized the reason why I feel I'm stuck here now is that I'm at the same body size as I was when my father made the comment about my thighs that triggered my anorexia, and I haven't been that size since, except for when I was pregnant with my babies.
Yeah, so that is a huge trigger then for you.
Yeah, yeah.
And what came up when you found out? I mean, by the way, I just want to acknowledge how quickly you get to the root cause because I know you've done journaling prior to this session, but usually we get to the root cause in the session, but you're already ahead of us in a good way. So you've answered all the questions that needed answering that enabled you to be like shining the spotlight on, okay, this is what it is. Because when if you think of a trigger in a gun, the trigger's a very small thing. It's the ammunition behind the trigger which causes the explosion or the huge emotional reaction, and that's where we're going to go today. So,
Yeah.
yeah, how did it feel when you was like, oh shit, that's it?
Well, in a way, it was a relief, I think, because
Mm,
finally, I just I've been sort of sitting at this weight for a while. Well, I don't know how much I weigh, but this
yeah,
size, and then but I could just tell in some of my behaviours I was just fiddling around with portion sizes a little bit, starting to think, oh, I don't really need that second biscuit, or just those sorts of things. And I thought, no, that's restriction, because that's what I was doing before I met you,
yes,
and I thought, well, I'm just I think I'm just tired of just doing that, for the rest of my life, if that's what it's going to be. Um, but yeah, now I'm at this particular size, in terms of clothing. I just I can't imagine myself possibly as being bigger, although I I intellectually understand that I've got to let myself get to that point. Yeah, if that makes
if
sense.
yeah, if your body wants to get to that point. So
If it wants, yeah,
when we're addressing the fear here, it's not me trying to reassure you, which is what most people do, and that's actually perpetuating the fear. I'm not saying, oh, you won't get any bigger.
yeah,
You might do. We don't
exactly,
know. Because when people are reassuring you, us, that guess, oh, you won't get any bigger, what they're doing is saying that don't worry, you won't get bigger because big is bad. Obviously, they're not saying it
correct,
in those direct words. So
yes.
let's say your body does get bigger. What are you going to make that mean about you? And when I say what are you going to make it mean, your conditioning and your past trauma has created a meaning. So before you answer that, actually, Christina, let me backtrack to when you discovered and connected the dots that actually the reason you're being triggered right now in terms of how you feel about your body is because it was the exact same size, or give or take, it feels the same size at least,
Mm,
as when, was it your dad that said the comment?
yeah,
to you about your thighs. So
Yeah.
go back to that moment. How old would you have been,
I
roughly?
was 19. Yeah.
19. How did
Mm.
19-year-old you feel? And what did she make it mean? She had to internalize this and then created a belief out of what happened. So
Yeah.
talk me through what happened, what little younger you made it mean, and then what belief she created, then what she did after that point.
Yeah, well, I guess I have to sort of take it right back because I grew up in a household where appearance was everything. My mum was married just after she turned 19, or just after she turned 19, and I was born 10 months later. And she had this beautiful, very um, tiny little waist, and and there was always comments my whole life, growing up. Oh, your mum had this fabulous figure, and after she had you, she bounced back. You should have seen the dress she was wearing on her 21st birthday, and that was between her having me and then my brother. And I think from my earliest recollections were my mother was a very attractive woman, and I obviously little girls like to be like their mums, and I idolized my mum, and I guess that was internalized. Well, you always have to have a nice figure and all that sort of stuff, um, and at the same time, I was told quite early on as well, when I was born, because, and this was, I mean, it was really hard for my parents. They were married overseas. My dad was an army officer. They came back to Australia. My mother met her in-laws for the first time when she was 7 months pregnant with me, and yeah, so that would have been a bit traumatic for her as well. She didn't have she both my parents actually had grown up in fairly dysfunctional families, but mum in particular. And so she had no support network or anything. And when she had me, I was 2 weeks overdue. It was a long, difficult labour. And I remember my dad telling me, and it's quite an early memory. I think I was only 4 or 5, that my head was so misshapen that they didn't show me to my mum for the first 24 hours because they were afraid she would reject me. And I know, and I just, and he used to sort of say it as a a funny story, but it's only really just looking at it now. I'm thinking that that's a lot of stuff that's sort of been sitting in here that I've only journaled this week really to kind of work through it, and so there was that first of all, and then I remember Mum saying to me, oh, yes. So she had to wean me at 4 weeks because she'd been told by the nurses that she was starving me because she wasn't producing enough breast milk. And so she was always terribly, guilty about not having been able to breastfeed me. And, but I remember her saying to me, I'd come in the morning and you'd just always be, in your cot smiling or laughing. And I realised then that, well, many years later, as an adult, I realised that she must have had chronic postnatal depression that was never diagnosed, that actually went on. I would say, she was chronically depressed for much of her life, and it was never properly treated. Um,
That would affect you
and
without a shadow of a doubt, even if she was doing her best for it not to affect you. Like
and
what you
that's
said
yeah,
at birth, that your dad said that to you. Yes, as a child, as a baby, then you didn't understand language, but your body, your cells remember everything that has ever
yeah.
been said to you. Yeah.
And I actually heard you say that on a podcast the other day, and that I think is what triggered that particular
Ah,
journal
yeah.
notation. Yeah. So, that's probably sort of been simmering underneath there as well. And I think, when you and Susie and I were talking last, I said I was a very late developer. Um, and so, when I got to the age of 19, and I think that was probably my puberty body settling
Yeah.
down. At the same time, I had both my maternal grandmother and my father and mum saying, oh, by your age, I'd had so many boyfriends, and I was married and I had a baby, and I actually hadn't had. I've been out with a couple of guys a couple of times, but it just wasn't my thing. And so I wonder now whether Um, apart from my dad making that comment, which, I thought, oh, well, obviously I need to lose some weight. And I started the diet, which I discovered I was really good at losing weight because I had one period and I was off and running as far as anorexia is concerned. But um, so
When you
the
had
other,
said to you, so if you
yeah,
can think back when he said those words to you, how did you feel? If can you name or can you remember the emotion that came up for you at that time?
I think the emotion would be shame. I felt ashamed of my body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then with that shame feeling, in order to cope, in order to move forward and protect yourself from that moment, what belief did you create? Did 19-year-old you create without you perhaps being consciously aware of it? Because you started an action, you started dieting. So you felt the shame, you would have created a belief and then you would have acted from that belief. What was that belief, do you think?
I think mm, I think the belief was that if I lost some weight, my parents would respect me or think I was doing a good job or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So go back to 19-year-old you and how she sees the world through her eyes. If that was her belief or something similar, it doesn't have to be exact, it's coming up as it's supposed to. If her parents respected her, obviously you, the younger you, and what was the other thing you said? Respected you and
I, I think I used the words thought I was doing a good job. I mean,
that's
just
it.
being a good girl, which I
Yeah.
always was. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've always been
But
a
if
people pleaser. Mm.
yeah, if
And I
your
always
parent
had to, oh, actually, yeah, sorry to interrupt, but I had
okay.
to be a good girl because I had to be careful of mum because she was always unwell.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, we're going to dive into that because that's a whole nother ball game that would have
yeah.
added to everything. But from this place, if 19-year-old Christina could be respected and be seen as extra good in in her parents' eyes, what would that mean about her?
Oh,
So go back to her. You're 19.
yeah.
Your dad makes that comment. You feel the shame. You
Mm.
internalize an unconscious belief like, okay, if I can be respected and seen like as extra good for my parents, then what?
Oh, gee whiz. Um,
No pressure. Don't if it doesn't come, don't worry. I can help you out from what I think it is. But
yeah.
see if you can connect with her. What was she trying to do? What was she trying to get
Um,
from being respected and being seen as good
yeah.
through dieting?
I think I always felt I didn't meet their expectations. I was a good student, but I wasn't a great student. Um, but I think actually I was just begging for their attention. My dad was, very focused on his career. My mum, she worked a lot as well, but she was always frustrated. She'd never had the chance to go to university because of, sorry, I am going on a tangent here, but I've just thought of something else. Because of her dysfunctional family, she'd had to leave school early and go out to work. And I'd been trying to figure out what sort of course I would do at university. I'd been at boarding school the last year of my schooling, and I came home from school at the end of my third term, and I was second term, and I said, "Oh, I think I've decided what I want to do. I want to do a Bachelor of Arts in Secretarial Studies." My mother had been a secretary, so that in itself, when I think back on it now, is sort of a trigger. I was wanting to pursue a career that was like my mother's, so that I would look better or be respected in her eyes.
Or get her
Um,
approval? Would those words
approval,
match?
that's the word I'm trying to think of.
Yeah.
And then, but you won't believe this. So I go back to school to finish my term. I'll finish my year at school, and I come home, and my mother has applied for the same degree at the same time at the same university. So here I am as a 17-year-old wanting to, I've finished school, I'm about to, become a grown up and, go and do my own thing. And my mum enrolls in the same course.
How did that feel?
Fucking terrible.
Yes. A
And I
lot of anger.
remember I was angry, but, I said to her, do you have to do this now? And she said, I've wanted to go to university my whole life and, and I've got this opportunity too. So, yes. And, and I remember writing letters to my girlfriends down in Melbourne because I'd been at boarding school in a different state, and I said, what do you think I should do? And they said, oh, ask her to defer, which I did, and she said no. And then they said, why don't you defer? And I said, I don't want to prolong any more education. I want to get it done and dusted. And it just, yeah. So I mean, neither of those options I felt I felt were open to me, and so I thought, oh well. But I did. It was probably one of the first times I ever stood up to my mother. I said, okay, Mum, you are not to talk to me on campus at all. You're not to approach me. We've got to be in different tutorials. You have to behave like you don't even know me. That sort of kind of worked for a while until I failed a subject. We'd worked out the whole 3 years, and then we ended up doing the same subjects at the same time.
If you could look back and see what the universe was asking you to learn and grow from that experience that it presented you with, what did you learn and grow from that experience, or what could you have done that perhaps you didn't at that time?
I could have had a gap year and gone off and done something else, and then probably would have ended up going, following a totally different career path.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
But
didn't have the self-confidence or the maturity
mhm,
at that stage. I was a very young mentally young 17 year
yeah.
old. So yeah.
But linking that back with your mother, there's a lot of anger there, rightly so. And also, probably might be unconscious because your mum was struggling with mental health as you were growing up, and there was a lot to do with her appearance and all these things. Perhaps as a child or as a baby, even unconscious here, you had a lot of anger as the fact that your needs weren't met by your mother because she wasn't able to meet your needs. And as children, we're rightly narcissistic. So we we know at our core, before language, that we deserve every need to be met
Mm,
because that's why we've come here, for people to take
exactly.
care of us and for us to live a great life. So when those needs aren't met by us, it's first of all, it's heartbreaking, but in order to protect us from feeling the heartbreak, which is very painful, we then feel anger, but then anger isn't widely accepted in families and society. So then we repress the anger, and then we have like all these feelings that we're suppressing on top of one another. So to feel anger is actually very healthy. It's definitely, to suppress it in a healthy way is necessary. So would you say that back then or throughout your life or now, number one, you can connect and welcome anger in your body when you feel it, and number two, can you express it in a healthy way and then let it go, or do you repress it still?
I still repress it. I repressed it all through my childhood.
Yeah.
I know that. Yeah. I these days, yeah, I think as a very mature adult, I can let my anger out if I get angry. But yeah, I have to say, right throughout the entire time that I was living in my family home, anger was suppressed. Yeah, because it would upset mum.
Yeah, exactly. So you were walking on eggshells.
Yeah, yeah,
You were then made responsible for your mother's feelings and emotions.
yes.
That's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of responsibility. That's a lot of inauthentic self expression because you weren't given the space and the environment to be your true, authentic self.
Hmm. Yeah,
And so, what happens is when we start suppressing who we truly are, it feels so wrong in our core. We can't sit with the feeling of being authentic because it's not who we've come here to be. We
yeah.
find ways to cope. But before we find ways to cope, we always, especially as children and babies, we choose attachment. So you've heard the attachment styles: securely attached, anxious attached, avoidant attached, and disorganized attachment. Have you heard
Actually,
of
I did
those?
that. Yes, and I did
Oh
that
yeah, which
survey the
one?
other day.
Which
Anxious,
one is anxious attached?
anxious.
Yes. So,
Yeah,
yeah. So in order to have an attachment means safety and means survival. So if as children we chose to be our authentic self, we would risk losing that attachment, which would mean death, because we're literally dependent on our caregivers.
yeah,
So we always choose to be our inauthentic selves, but at least get some kind of attachment because we need it to survive. But
yes.
then, because we've learned how to do that at such a young age, we continue the rest of our lives doing that.
Mm.
And then we get to a certain point where we're like, whether unconsciously or consciously, I'm not happy. Like, what's going on?
That's
Because you
exactly right.
come out.
Yeah, and it's only been since I met you that I've actually been able to realize that I've never been able to live my true authentic self. I'm still trying to find who that person is.
Yeah.
Mm,
And it's a case of unlearning because she's there because it's who you are.
mm,
You can't not
exactly.
find your authentic self because it's like looking for something that's already literally is who you are. So what's that quote I love by one of the songs I listen to? What you are searching for is what you are.
I'll just write that down in shorthand.
Yeah. What you are searching for is what you are.
Mm,
So, tying this back to what I'm hearing you say is when you realize that the journaling got you to the point of like, oh shit, it's so triggering to me right now. And we're going to go there. We're going to help you move
yeah,
forward.
sure.
But it's so triggering to me right now because this was the size I was when my dad made that comment. When my dad made that comment, I was overwhelmed with shame. I internalized it that it was my fault and I needed to change it and I needed to fix it. You weren't able at that moment to be like, well, hold on a minute, dad. That's your
Yeah.
opinion and you're
Yes.
entitled to it, whatever. Like you didn't have the capacity to like reject that. You internalized it, you made it your fault. And what you tried to do through dieting and restriction, and I've heard you say this both times about your dad and your mother, you were trying to gain their approval
Approval. Yeah.
because I assume throughout your childhood you didn't feel like you had your parents' approval of your true, natural, authentic self.
Yes. That's
And all
true.
we do, even as adults now, so many of us, until we do this work, are children in adult bodies.
Yes.
So many clients I work with, they're 30, 40, 50, 60, and they're still afraid of their mother's, like, let me reframe that. They're still trying to get their mother's approval, and they're like
Yep.
50 years old.
Yeah, I know. It's sad, isn't it?
It's sad,
There's
it's
so many of
heartbreaking.
us out there. Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's ingrained in us, it's in our like DNA, it's wired in us to have our parents' approval when we're baby and children because we depend on them for survival. If they
Yeah.
disapprove of us, we could literally die. So as adults, we don't have to gain our parents' approval
Mm.
at all. But because it's all we've ever known and it feels safe to us, and we don't want to disappoint our parents and hurt our parents, we have all these stories around why we still need their approval as an
Yeah.
adult. And this is what we can start to dismantle. So let me ask you, when you found out the dots, like I feel this way now because of that, what came up for you in terms of your life now? And then we can go into how I can support you to move forward from this place that you've discovered.
It was actually a complete relief that,
Mm,
I'd finally, because I knew the day would come when, but
yeah.
I'd not even really thought about it. Sort of just going along my recovery journey, feeling really good, and then when I got to this point where I just was starting to feel stuck, I just couldn't figure out why, and that's when I realised that that's what it was. So, and I guess also, it's almost like being on a precipice. I'm about to step into a whole new sense of my being in a bigger body, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's something you've never
It's
done before.
exactly. Oh, apart from when I was pregnant, but that was different.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's the
Mm.
fear of the unknown. In
Yes.
fact, there was a question you wanted me to ask you, and I don't know if it's the
Mm.
right time to ask you, but I'm just going to do it because I don't want to forget, because it
Actually,
might
it's
tie
really
in.
funny. Yeah, because I was just thinking now would be the perfect time. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Because that's how we're going to be able to move forward with this, right? And if we have
Mm.
time, oh, we have lots of time. I want to guide you through a 15-minute meditation at the end that is going to
Awesome.
solidify everything that we're going to go, and it's just going to be powerful. It's going to be incredible. So before we get there, have you ever had a quote unquote normal, whatever that means, a normal, peaceful, let's go with the word peaceful, free relationship with food and your body at any time throughout your life after the anorexia?
Yes, I have, and I'll just might get a bit emotional now. It was
Of
when
course.
I found out that I was pregnant with the first baby, and it was just so freeing because I realised that every decision I made about what I put inside in my mouth was going to not only affect me but somebody else. And so it was really lovely. The rules about what was good and what wasn't good food and the amounts. I knew I had to eat a healthy amount of food to grow a healthy baby, and I was absolutely blessed with 4 beautiful pregnancies. I was able to breastfeed my babies, and and obviously once they were physically independent of me, I'd weaned them and everything. Um, I I felt it was still my responsibility to be a good role model in terms of um, food, so nothing was off limits. Obviously, I tried to make sure that they had a healthy diet in terms of fruit and vegetables and, a good balanced diet, but um, yeah, nothing was off limits to them. And then, of course, they're all quite athletically talented, and so there was a lot of fuel in the house to feed these very hungry, active children. So while I was parenting, I felt really quite normal around food. Once they started leaving home, that's when I started, um, I think, yeah, going back into it was when I think it was very subtle when I think of it now. It's just sort of gradual little restrictions, and then the last 10 the last 15 years really since around the time I turned 50 is when I started, really getting stuck into the exercise big time and reduce, just really, yeah, just doing too much. And then that's kind of coincided with me going into the fitness industry as well. Mm.
So what I'm interested in, first of all, the word relief. You said when you got pregnant, you felt relief. Tell me more about that
Mm.
and why you think you felt that way, because that's showing us a lot.
It is actually, isn't it? I hadn't even realised that I'd said that word. I think I just oh, actually, yeah, yeah, just I'd felt this pressure to still maintain this certain, body shape, and I did actually still feel that pressure to get back to my pre-pregnancy weight. Um,
Question.
Sorry, yes,
Pressure from who?
myself, but it would have been, yeah, but again, my parents were still in the picture at that point, and your mum, she bounced back after her babies, and actually, I was just thinking about that the other day too. When I was breastfeeding my babies, I always um, sat at, because I've got this number in my head from years and years and years, the one that I sort of pretty much stuck at. But while I was breastfeeding, I was always about 3 kilos above that, and I was talking to my eldest daughter who's got children, and she said, "Oh, yeah, when I was feeding, I got back to such and such a weight," and she said that was my normal weight, and she was actually sometimes struggling to even maintain that weight while she was feeding the baby because they were very hungry babies. Um, but I just might be over analysing this, but I was thinking the other day that weight that I was at while I was feeding my babies is probably or was then probably supposed to be my healthy weight, but then I'd always sort of just Um,
Believe to be true because your
mm,
hormones need to be on point to produce breast milk. Your body needs to be working very, I can never say this word, homeostatically or some, it needs to be
yes,
working all balanced
yes, yes.
to do that. So yeah, I would agree.
Mm. So I kind of have contradicted myself a little bit in that, in terms of once I'd finished feeding the babies, I did sort of manage to manipulate my weight back down to that, what I call the magic number. Mm.
But the relief that you felt was because you felt no pressure because tell
Yes.
me more about like when you were pregnant, was it like, oh, now I can let like what was the thought that preceded the feeling of relief when you were
Ah,
pregnant?
yeah. And it wasn't, and I know how, some women say, oh, yeah, pregnant, I can eat anything I like. It wasn't like that at all. It was very much a conscious decision to eat, a balanced, healthy diet, but not have to worry about I think it was more the sizes, the portion sizes, and, having to sort of pull back with food all the time. If I felt like it was the first time I'd been intuitive about my eating since before that anorexia. So I was actually able to listen to my body. And if it said, I'm hungry, I'd go and eat something. Whereas,
So what I'm hearing is, right, I'm piecing this together. Felt relief because, and I've got a fan on and it's blowing my
oh,
hair in my face, but it's
that's
so
right,
hot.
because it's summer over your way.
So hot, it's ridiculous. So you felt relief because you then were given permission to nourish yourself and listen
Yes.
to and trust your body
Yes.
because you are responsible for another human being growing inside of you.
Yes.
So what changed
Exactly.
when you were no longer responsible in terms of nourishment for another human? What else did I say in terms of the you were given permission? Yeah, trust. I'm coming up intuitively. Trust is an important word.
Mm.
When the pregnancies and the breastfeeding was done and gone, would you say you then fell back out of trust with your body's cues? What happened then
Yeah,
for you to
that would
change
be
again?
right. I did. Yeah.
Why do you think?
Um, I think because I'd never really got that restrictive mindset, and I'd grown up in this fat phobic family, and I just thought, well, it's my job to get back to that size and operate at that level. Yeah.
It's conditioning, and something's coming up intuitively for me, and let me know if it resonates or not. It just came to me. The way that you gave yourself permission to nourish yourself when you were responsible for another human that was growing inside of you, it's almost like the trust was able to be there because it wasn't just you alone. It was you with another human, which was your baby that was growing. So
Mm.
without this other human and your body's cues to nourish that other human, including yourself, it was like now you're by yourself. You can't trust only you. I don't know if that resonates in any way.
Yeah, that's possibly that, but I think also if I think back to the way I've lived my life, is I didn't think I deserved to. I just didn't think I deserved to nourish myself.
So here it is then. Whereas when you obviously were bearing child, that sounds like old language. When you were bearing child, did you allow yourself to override the whether you deserved it or not because it was most important to nourish the growing baby and your body to grow the baby,
Absolutely. Yep.
which links the same because not deserving is linked to overriding that to nourish yourself because of another person, not just for you, it was
Yeah.
for the baby.
Mm.
So the root of all of this is you feel or felt or partly feel because you've done a lot of work on yourself, but this is coming up ready to be healed now. You
Mm.
feel undeserving of
Yeah.
what? Fill in the blank.
Um, Actually, the first word that came to my mind was love.
And just sit with that. It's not true.
No, I know.
and I feel emotional with you. Just sit with that feeling that you have felt throughout your entire babyhood and childhood and adolescence up until this point or shortly before this point, that you've gone through your life doing your best, feeling like you're undeserving of love. I mean, look at what
Oh,
you've done. Yeah.
I came in here without a tissue.
I
Oh,
should
hang
have
on.
one.
Oh,
I do. I
actually,
always have one because
I tried to find one. Oh dear. Mm.
do you feel with that being alive inside of you now?
I actually I feel relieved that I've let that
Mm.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. So now that feeling of feeling unworthy of love, how old are you? What version of you is feeling that on repeat throughout your life now? Because you know it's not true now, but it's still
You,
within you. There's a wound here that needs to be healed.
you mean from when I first felt that in
Yeah,
my
well,
life? Yeah.
whether it's whether the question where you first felt it or whether you just have a vision now of a younger you that feels that way to be true, whatever comes for you from either of those ways of looking at it.
Um. Oh, yeah. From one of my early memories as a little kid, 3 or 4, because I I got the sense of how hard being a mother was for my mother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you internalize that the way your mother was coping or not coping in motherhood, you because again you were rightly narcissistic, everything, the whole world is about you, and
Yeah.
you're here to explore the entire world, it's all about you. You thought it was too painful for you and you didn't have the intellectual um intelligence, for lack of a better word, to understand that your mum was depressed. It was nothing to do with you. The world's
Yeah.
actually quite a challenging place. The only way you could make sense of it, this was probably before pre-language as well, but through your body and through your cells, was it must be my fault, because if it's my fault, I then have the power to change myself and do something about it.
Yeah.
So actually, you felt disempowered, which is the opposite of who we are at our core. So in order to try and feel empowered, you need to feel like you can do something about it. You need to feel like you can change something that's not feeling right.
Mhm.
You felt undeserving of love. You then spend the rest of your life trying to be deserving of love. Then you can fix it and change it and everything's fine.
Yes.
But the world is a challenging
Oh.
place and people have ancestral trauma. And
Mhm.
we know that now. But from this place you've been in, now you have this realization that it's not true for you. There's some healing to do here.
Yep.
What do you feel intuitively called to do for yourself with what you've just figured out here?
Will love myself, and that's one of my new values.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Self-love.
self-love. It's my number
Self-love.
one value. Yeah.
Beautiful. And from that, from acting as if you deeply, unapologetically, radically love everything about who you are, including your body if it wants to get bigger. Because you and I both know it's not about the body. The body is
Exactly.
the trigger. The body is the mirror. The body is the stuff that we can stay stuck in and try and fix and change if we're not ready to do this deeper work. And that's where it's really at. So, yeah, you will have challenges as your body gets bigger if it does, but you can work through that with all the tools you have.
Yeah,
This is the real work. So,
that's
when
right.
you act like you love the shit out of yourself in Victorian language, and give all the love to all the younger past versions of you that have lived life believing at her core, whether she was aware of it or not, that she felt unworthy of love. You will heal all the past and you'll heal the present wound, and then you will feel differently. And then if your body gets bigger, you might have a moment of like, oh, it would be nice to be smaller, or oh, it would be nice to have my six pack back. And it's a fleeting moment of, wouldn't it be nice? Because that's where I'm at. I
Yeah.
can only take you as
Yeah.
far as where I've come. Maybe there's an even deeper layer, perhaps. I'm always open to even more growth, but The only thing I have now, very rarely, is, oh, wouldn't it be nice if those clothes fit me again?
Yeah.
They don't. Oh, well, there's no emotional charge. It's just like a, wouldn't it be nice to be a billionaire? Oh, well,
That's right.
it's
Yeah.
just, it's like there's so much spaciousness and peace in there. So
Mm.
I think this is a beautiful segue into this meditation that I had prepared for you, because intuitively I assumed I knew the topic, what would come up, obviously, from what we've said. But what I've got planned is literally perfect. So
Oh, wonderful.
I'm excited to deliver it, and I'm excited for you to receive it. And obviously, I forget we're recording this for the listeners out there. Take time to receive this meditation. And obviously for you, Christina, I know that you're in receiving mode, but receiving is linked to feeling worthy of receiving.
Yeah.
So let all your guard down, let your heart just bleed wide open, and just close your eyes and just receive, yes, through my words, but it's the love that I'm giving to you, not only from myself, but from all past versions of yourself, all future versions of your higher self, and all the love that is in the universe. Allow yourself to receive it all, okay?
Okay.
So here we go. So you've already closed your eyes. So just allow yourself to just tune inward, whatever that means to you. And just do a nice slow inhale through the nose. And when you exhale, let go of anything that doesn't serve you anymore. And we'll do 2 more of them, and feel free to make a noise on the exhale. So inhale through the nose. Exhale, let go. Let it all go. And one more, breathe in, fill your belly up, allow your belly to be soft for the first time in your life. Allow it, embrace it, fill it up, and let it go. Okay, good. So I would like you to start to bring your awareness now to your physical body, the physical body that you're in today. Not to critique, not to judge, just to observe, just to witness how it feels to be in the physical body you have today. So feel your skin, if you can. Feel your bones. Feel your breath. See your body as a sacred container of lifetimes, a living altar of your existence. See if you can feel, sense, imagine the blood that's pumping around your body, that your heart beats all by itself to keep you alive. And then allow my words to sink in and repeat them to yourself in your mind. This is the body I was born to live in. This is the vessel of my spirit, my stories, and my power. Imagine standing before a mirror in your mind and see your body reflected in all its honesty, its softness, its strength, its curves, its wrinkles, its stretch marks, all of it. See your body reflected in its entirety, full honesty. And gaze into your own eyes. Like there's a saying that rings so true for me: the eyes are the windows to the soul. Allow yourself to gaze into your own eyes in this mirror and say to yourself, so repeat after me in your mind, I am enough exactly as I am. I am done abandoning myself. Claim that back. Claim yourself back. And in your mind's eye, see yourself wearing now layers of clothing. So each layer of clothing represents a role or identity you've once carried in your life. The fit one, the healthy one, the disciplined one, the one who has it all together, the one who earns love or tries to earn their parents' approval through appearance. So feel and sense all the layers of clothing that you currently have on you. And of course, these layers of clothing have been created by you in an attempt to try and be good enough to be loved, because it doesn't make sense otherwise to you. If you can fix it, then everything will be fine. You can receive the love. So feel all of those layers of clothing on your body. Feel the weight bearing down on you. Feel the over hotness in all this clothing. And also feel how it doesn't make sense to be wearing this many clothes. It's not normal, it's not natural, it's not who you're supposed to be. Okay, so what we're going to do with love, we're going to remove each one. So start to peel back the layers of the clothing and feel how heavy they were. And know that as you're removing these past identities, these past coping mechanisms, these were never you. They were your survival clothes. But now they're no longer needed. As each layer falls, repeat in your mind, I am not here to be consumed. I am here to be free. I am not here to cope. I am here to be free. I do not need to earn anyone's love because I am already loved. And let that final layer fall away and stand there in your wholeness, naked in your truth, radiant, real as fuck, strong and soft at the same time. Good. And in this empowerment that you've just returned home to, you leave the mirror and you start to walk barefoot into a glowing temple. It's an ancient sacred temple and it's carved into stone and earth. So it goes back way back when. There's candles flickering. The walls are humming with ancestral power. You can feel it. Women of many generations appear. Your lineage of women. Grandmothers, great-grandmothers, women who spent their lives hiding, dieting, shrinking, apologizing. They appear in front of you now, and they see you, and they weep, because you are the one who is breaking the chain. You are the one who is choosing self-love. You are the one who is choosing freedom. One by one, they bless your body. They kiss your belly, your thighs, your aging skin, your softness, and your strength. Receive all of that, Christina. And they whisper to you. They say, thank you. We carried shame so you wouldn't have to. Now you get to live free. For you, for us, for those who come after. Let their love wash through you. And in this sacred space, return to your body. Feel it again. Feel your breath. Feel your pulse. Place a hand on your heart and another on your womb or your belly. And repeat after me in your mind's eye. I forgive myself for ever thinking I had to earn love through shrinking. I honor this vessel. I honor her cycles, her age, her transformation. My body is not an object. My body is a temple of truth, intuition, and pleasure. See golden light pour into you, through your crown chakra, into your chest, into your belly, into those beautiful thighs. You are being recoded right now. You are being rewritten, restored. Every cell is remembering, I am worthy without condition. You've healed all of your ancestry trauma. It stopped with you. And now you're walking out the temple, reborn. You are only clothed in truth. Hair wild, feet bare, heart open. And imagine entering a space, perhaps your home, a garden, or a gathering, where you show up exactly as you are. Imagine speaking with softness and certainty, moving with flow, laughing without shame, eating without apology, fully inhibiting your life, not performing it in any way. And say to yourself, I am not too much. I am not broken. I am not behind. I am me. And that is my power. So bring your attention back to your breath. Inhale and exhale slowly. Whisper to yourself in your mind's eye, I am sacred. I am safe. I am free. My body is no longer the battleground. She is the home I choose to come back to. And just send so much love and gratitude to your body, to your past ancestors that showed themselves to you. Give such gratitude to all past versions of you, all future versions of you, and the version of you that you are today. And whenever you're ready, open your eyes and come back to now. I felt that one as well.
Wow. Oh, that was amazing.
Mm,
Oh, thank you, Victoria.
you're welcome. Everyone needed that. Whoever is listening, we all need.
For sure, for sure.
How do you feel?
Oh, I feel so much lighter, you know, what you were saying about the cloaks and then standing in front of all my ancestors, and yeah, that means it's huge.
It's beyond words, isn't it? It's just
Yeah.
It's just, you know, something's shifted and it's beyond words. It's just an experience and a feeling that you will now move forward with.
Yeah, yeah,
And then yes, you can use your mindset tools as and when they come up, but this is the deeper stuff that's been healed and been changed. And the other stuff gets to be easy again.
yeah, yeah.
I'm so
Mm.
proud of you for being vulnerable and being here, Christina. So thank you
Oh,
for trusting me as always.
oh, you've changed my life. You really have.
Thank you. It means the absolute world, honestly. And I can't say it. I'm beyond words with what this connection means and how you trust me and how others trust me because we're in this together.
Mm,
We're in this together. And I want
absolutely.
to see the most truest, unapologetic as fuck version of you in your body, in your face, in your mind, in your heart, in your soul, in your actions. Gift that to yourself, Christina. Gift yourself you
Thank you.
in anybody that you is.
Yeah, thank you.
Much love, sweetheart.
Thank you
Mwah.
so much.
I'll speak to you soon. You're welcome. Take a minute before you go downstairs, okay?
Absolutely.
Just just take a minute and just ground, okay?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye,
Love you.
sweetheart. Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.